perfect market because of the strength of the population.
You have to Vietnamize your content here.
I would tell them to come on board, tell them what they like, or give them what they like.
Viet Nam is a very, very dynamic and exciting.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. My name is Phi Nguyen and I'm your host on Inside Vietnam. In the last two episodes, we have discussed Vietnam's market overview, regional segmentation, and insights into young consumerism in Vietnam. On today's show, I'm going to take you on a journey into the advertising and media landscape of Vietnam and discuss the industry structure, what works and what does not work in Vietnam, as well as challenges that you may face as an advertiser in this market. We've got a veteran in advertising industry here today as our guest speaker. I'd like to welcome David Lester, Managing Director of Leo Burnett Vietnam. David has spent 34 years of his life with Leo Burnett, of which 19 years as a Burnett Managing Director and 10 years in Asia. David's focus is very much on understanding issues. This is David's comment that I quite like. Too many people are talking solutions before any of the problem has been clearly identified. As for Leo Burnett, the company has been in Vietnam for 12 years, and Burnett was Vietnam's first legally recognized multinational agency through a BCC agreement. Let's meet David on the show. Good day to you, David, and thank you very much for joining us on Inside Vietnam. Let me start by asking you a very personal question.
Please do.
How long have you been here in Vietnam,
I have been in Vietnam for 8 years.
For 8 years?
Yeah, I've been in Asia for 10 years.
Now, there is a myth that local agencies and local people sort of understand the local consumers better. What is your point of view on that as a foreigner working here in Vietnam?
Yeah. In my case, having been here for 8 years, having been to 200 weddings, having been through about 24, 30 wet markets, stood in queues for supermarkets and been to lots of home visits, I think that I've got a very strong understanding of the dynamic and how people feel.
So 5-6 years ago, I understand that the international agencies or the joint venture agencies are prominent in Vietnam, and local agencies are sort of subcontractors and doing a lot of below-the-line activities to service the international agencies. Is that still the case here in Vietnam?
There are something like 43 advertising agencies in Vietnam. Now, of the 43, about 7 or 8 of them are multinational agencies. And the bulk of the business would be with the multinational agencies, mainly because the bulk of the clients are multinational clients.
With digital media becoming a lot more prominent globally, and I would think that that's the same happening in Vietnam. Have you seen any shift in the industry in terms of structure?
We have seen some sort of smaller specialist operations still start up, but in truth, the major agencies, they see that is a major new channel of communication, and so certainly major agencies like Leo Burnett, major agencies like O&M or JWT or whomever, these guys would be putting in place digital departments within their agencies.
Is that happening already at the international agency level?
Well, with the principal agencies, it is. I think with the principal agencies, a lot of the back-end work may well in fact go out, be subcontracted out, but certainly, the planning and the development of the digital campaign and the design and the look of the site, right, strategy would be with the agencies. The agencies would then oversee its implementation, but execution is something that they would then hand out to third party.
Have you ever actually advised a client to use digital marketing as a key channel?
At the moment, yeah. At the moment, we've got, for one of our major clients, it is completely digital. In truth, it's probably 90% digital, but the whole thing it's a digital idea. For
digital marketing to work in Vietnam, what sort of platforms are we using here in Vietnam at the moment? The platforms is in Facebook or Twitter? We are using all of them. We are going to use digital communication. Now the issue is, how do we use it? How do we develop our programs so that it then does link through to Facebook, it then does link through to Twitter, it links through to all the, it enables us to use the digital platform very, very effectively. Okay, let's move on and talk about marketing evolution. Sounds very professional.
It does indeed.
I've looked at the marketing evolution scale and from straight sale to advertising itself, the constructed advertising, and I think Vietnam is sitting around level 3 to about level 5. What's your point of view on that?
Well, I'd agree with that. You know, most of them are still give me functional stories.
And then there's metaphor and there's lifestyle experiences in the equation as well. How do you put them all together?
Well, in truth, I suppose when it comes to lifestyle, when it comes to metaphor, you know, they are in truth used in markets which are probably more ad savvy. You know, certainly with younger people, you can use that style of advertising because they get it pretty quickly. But, you know, older people, you know, they don't understand. They don't understand.
Is Vietnam an ad-savvy market, do you think?
Well, certainly with young people, absolutely. Absolutely, they get it very, very quickly. But again, if you look at you look at the total market, you look at the nature of products, you look at who buys what, in truth, it's mainly with the housewife. And so therefore, you know, she's really into the fundamental benefits. That's what I want to know and understand.
And a bit of entertainment value.
And a bit of entertainment value, absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
David, can you give me an example of how you put these together in a story or in a commercial?
I suppose when we talk about functional benefits and we talk about lifestyle, an interesting example would be some work that we've done for Yomost. Yomost is drinking yogurt. We recently launched Yomost with power fruits. And so power fruits are very, very beneficial to the skin. And so therefore it gives the skin a real glow. And, you know, recently we developed, you know, what was a really interesting, entertaining piece of communication, which was all about, you know, 3 girls who obviously had been drinking it, and, you know, they had this power to really be able to blow away and to excite males who noticed their beauty. And, you know, so this has been a campaign which has been very, very successful.
You know, the research agencies always talk about aspirations as a key attribute in communication in Vietnam, especially to the young consumers. What is your point of view on that?
Well, you know, when we talk about aspiration, you know, we talk about what is it that they're actually buying into. You know, so, you know, these guys are ultimately, they're buying into a lifestyle of some description, aren't they? And so therefore, you know, certainly I think aspirational advertising does work, but it's the level at which you would choose to pitch the story. You know, there are some brands where aspiration is very, very important. You know, certainly aspiration is very important for fashion, for soft drinks. You know, in some cases it might be important for a product like Yomost. So, but you've got to understand how to use it. You know, certainly you've got to use it as at a level so that people believe the offer that you're making. Can I actually achieve that? Right? You know, by using A, B or C.
So it has to be achievable.
Exactly right. Am I going to be turned into Superman? No one actually believes that. No one actually believes that. But am I going to feel good? Am I going to feel enhanced as a result of using A or B? Well, yes, I am.
So having said that, qualitative research is very important for you to dig down an insight into the consumer target.
Yeah, correct.
What if your client do not have the budget to do research in Vietnam?
Well, I suppose it comes down to the size of the project. I mean, if it were a major investment, well then, you know, I would have some concern. But if we're talking about, you know, a major strategic change, well then I would be saying this has got to be looked at.
You know, the Nielsen company actually tracks what they call Gen V, Generation Vietnam, from 13 to 24 years old as a hardcore youth. What they're talking about is that for this particular young group, there are subgroups in terms of psychographic areas. And they recommend that their clients would go, in terms of creative material, go towards the uber modern, the sort of extrovert people to create material, but at the same time not alienating the regulars. What is your point of view on that?
These guys are probably opinion leaders in the early adopters. And we all know that the early adopters, as defined, they pick it up and then everyone else follows. So on that basis, I would probably agree with what they're saying.
But what do you think from an ad agency point of view, how can you create a material that's very aspirational but not too edgy so that you won't alienate the regulars?
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
I don't believe you can do that. And this is a major mistake that many people make, right, is that we're trying to talk to three different groups through one communication. It does not work.
It does not work.
Absolutely no. What we've got to do, we've got to be single-minded in who is the target, clearly identify who they are, and then have a very clear message aimed directly at those people. We do that, we are going to be successful. The story is very clear. If we're saying, well, we want A and we want a little bit of B and can you watch for C, you're going to come up with wallpaper, right? And you're going to waste your money. And so therefore, my point of view would be we have to be absolutely focused in terms of who we're going to reach, who we should reach, and what is the story we want to tell them.
So if a client is targeting Gen V, they should be very clear on which subgroup they're talking to and would like to target.
Absolutely.
They should not go across the board and try to appeal to everyone. Is that what
Because
you're
it's
saying?
not going to work.
Because there are different groups or different subgroups in the youth sector in Vietnam, and I believe that they would be at various levels of ad savviness. How do you as an ad agency going to appeal to each group? Where are they on the scale? Do you think?
Truly, they're nearly at a deconstructed level, the kids are. The kids are. Because you've got to think, who are we talking about? Who are we talking about? We're talking about the MTV generation. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the guys. They see it all. They know. They know. They get it very, very quickly. And we don't have to be as detailed in terms of our explanation. They're a visual generation. And, you know, they are used to every sort of visual technique,
Just
trick
flash
you
a
can do.
visual at them and
Exactly
that's-
right. They get it. They get it.
What about other groups in Vietnam, the mothers, the
as
older
I said,
generation?
well, they don't get it all.
No.
But this comes down to who we're targeting. The mothers, they are still at a functional level. The kids are way ahead of their parents. And in truth, the parents no longer understand the kids. And this is a major problem because today, in truth, the kids don't have the role models any longer. And this is because the parent, in a lot of cases, parents just don't understand the world in which the kids are living.
It's a whole lot generation altogether.
And this is part of what happens in a dynamic, exciting economy like Vietnam, which is progressing very, very, very quickly. And the kids pick it up quickly.
What about the older males in Vietnam? What level are they at? Are they functional as well?
Exactly.
An executive of a big agency here once told me that creativity does not belong to the creative director, nor the agency, nor the client. It belongs to the audience. What do you think about that?
Brands belong to people, well then I would accept that. Okay? So therefore, if brands belong to people, well then maybe as a result